and it was absolutely free. So the video can be free. The email, sending email, can be and should be free. You don't need to sign up for Constant Contact if you're not using it, or MailChimp or anyone else, in order to send the kinds of emails I'm talking about. This is one at a time email. So whatever email platform you're using, Hotmail, Gmail, whatever, works. Let's talk about the fees involved in the platform. Now, the lowest platform fees I'm aware of is Razoo, and their standard fees are 4.9%. I think they're a little higher for Love Utah, Give Utah to help pay for some of the Love Utah, Give Utah costs, the prize money and stuff. Even then, the fees that the Community Foundation of Utah collects off of the site don't pay for all of those costs. They have to go raise money in addition. But it will be slightly higher. I'm not sure what the final cost was. But that's probably, even with the bumped up cost, that's probably the cheapest platform of any. Kickstarter is 5% plus credit card costs. The credit card costs are about 3%. They use Amazon, and you pay Amazon directly. Razoo takes care of it for you with the 4.9%. But let's call that 5% for fees. It'll be about 5% or more, but let's call it 5% there. So if you raise $10,000, $500 goes to pay for the fees. Now, some people get anxious about that and say, well, I could just do it on my own website, and why do it on Razoo? My answer to that primarily is your website just probably is not as cool as the Razoo website, especially for embedding the sharing tools and all of that into the process of fundraising. And you don't want to have to build what they built. They've spent $1 million building their site. You don't want to spend $1 million building a site to save $500 bucks. You're going to pay that money there. Reaching out to the media, you can pay $80 or $400, but you don't have to. The most effective ways to reach the media are going to be those personal contacts. That takes time, but it doesn't take money. So if you're using staff time you already have or volunteer time, again, I would argue that we can ignore those costs. Now, I talked to one organization that raised in Silicon Valley. It was the Silicon Valley Education Foundation, and they focus primarily on helping underachieving kids in the Silicon Valley area. And it's sort of like Park City. I was surprised to learn they had underachieving kids in Silicon Valley, but they do. And they, at the end of the day, they said they raised $30,000 on their first crowdfunding effort, and they thought it cost them $30,000 when they added in, among other things, the staff time that they had allocated to the project. So it isn't necessarily a huge home run kind of way to make new money when we add in all the costs, including that time and labor. But what they said, and what I've heard consistently, is they bring in new money and new relationships, and they can cultivate those new relationships into giving over a span of years. So it isn't, you don't need to think of it as a one-time, did we make money on it, this go, because in your subsequent efforts, you'll be able to get additional resources from those people and those new relationships. So I think in terms of hard costs, it can literally be limited to the $500 bucks. You probably want to have a party. If you can get stuff donated, great. If you have to spend a few $100s on carrots and celery and a couple of kegs, then okay. But it's do whatever feels right for your organization. But I would discourage spending a lot of money. And there are a lot of little things you can start doing. I would discourage you from spending even the frivolous $5 and $10 kinds of things where you can, just so that the money's dropping all the way into the bottom line of the organization. Great question. Now, I want to point out that, just one second, if you turn in your feedback sheet, you get today's PowerPoint, and you get a free download of Crowdfunding for Social Good, and as a bonus, you'll get a free download of my other book, Your Mark on the World, if you want it. No obligation. So we have like one more minute for one last question. Okay. Oh, sorry. I promised you the question. I promised. I promised. I already said. Okay, we're going to do 2 questions, Michelle, and then we'll do over here. Okay. So Michelle.
So I know Razoo has an app. This is a Razoo specific question. Does the app process payment, or is it strictly to see where your donations are during the day?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I wish I knew. And then you had a question.
What advice would you give? So I'm sure you're aware of Giving Tuesday.
Yes.
We tried our hand at doing that this year, and honestly, my impression of it was way more a free-for-all. Like, just how it was organized was completely different, because I guess we have the Community Foundation working so hard to make this such a streamlined process for the nonprofits in the community.
Right.
But how can we make the most of Giving Tuesday, or how can we do that very unorganized looking process something that's
Yeah. So Giving Tuesday, I think most of you know what Giving Tuesday is, right? The Tuesday after Thanksgiving. This sort of spontaneously erupted just a few years ago as we started giving names to all of the days after Thanksgiving. There was Black Friday, and then somebody said, okay, Saturday's Small Business Saturday, and they were trying to get people to shop at small businesses on this Saturday, and then Monday is Cyber Monday, right? And somebody said, wait, Tuesday is Giving Tuesday. And I don't know exactly where it started, but it has really gained momentum. And the crowdfunding portals like Razoo and Fundly really got on board this year and said, yeah, Giving Tuesday, that's good. So Razoo more than Fundly, but Fundly kind of at the last minute kind of got on board. Razoo did it earlier. They announced their support I think in October. And so it is very much a free-for-all. So what I would do is take advantage of the branding, right, and use the hashtag in all of your promotion of Giving Tuesday. But I wouldn't look for any organizational support. You are on your own. It's all about what you do on that day. And just like on Love Utah, Give Utah, the media is going to be interested in Giving Tuesday. But they need stories that are relevant. They need to put a cute face in front of the story. So you want to be going to the media and doing all the things we talked about today for Giving Tuesday, but you want to take full responsibility because there is no Community Foundation of Utah organizing and championing this. It's a free-for-all, just like you said.
I'm glad I was on the right track then.
Yes.
I was a little lost, so I was like, oh, maybe it's not me then.
Yeah, it is not you. It is just a free-for-all. And I'll stick around for a few minutes to answer questions, but I want to share one last story with you in conclusion to wrap up. A few years ago, when I turned 40, I bought a Harley Davidson. This is a picture of my beautiful Harley Davidson with my beautiful wife. And when I bought it, and this was the day we bought it, my wife said to me, I am never getting on that motorcycle with you. Within a few hours, she had changed her mind. She said, oh, we could go for just like a short ride. And so I took her for the first little ride that day, and we didn't die. And so over time, it got to where if I were going to go for a ride on the motorcycle, you know, to the grocery store, she was coming because she loved being on the back of the motorcycle. So we'd had the bike about 90 days, and I had a business meeting in the thriving metropolis of Soda Springs, Idaho. And so I said, do you want to make kind of a little weekend of this? We'll go up and ride the bike up and stay up there. And she said, yeah, that sounds fun. So we packed the little saddlebags full of our stuff and rode up. We stayed in Logan overnight, and then we got up early in the morning and started winding our way through all these backcountry roads up to Soda Springs. Had our meetings in Soda Springs. Just beautiful, beautiful day. It was middle of July, but beautiful time for riding and just spectacular places. I remember driving sometimes 20 or 30 minutes at a stretch without seeing another car. Just fantastic. Then we went down, we got milkshakes in Bear Lake, and we drove down through Evanston, ran out of gas, and that was funny. And then we came down, and we had dinner in Park City. It was really just a wonderful day, and so it's about 8 o'clock at night, and we're coming in. The sunset is coming, and we we're on the freeway coming into Salt Lake, and we got cut off in traffic and wrecked the bike. So we're going about 60 miles an hour, and I remember sliding across down the freeway. And my wife did not slide. She tumbled. And I remember thinking that I had just killed my wife. And I crawled over to her and could hear her crying. And there has never been a sweeter sound to my ears than her crying, because I knew she wasn't dead. It turns out she had broken all of her arms and legs. She had a concussion. She spent a couple of days in intensive care and then had a 10-hour surgery as 2 different teams of surgeons worked to put different parts back together. And then she spent another week in the hospital healing, and she was barely coherent at any point during this time. The worst moment of all for me was a rather odd moment. And maybe I should be embarrassed to admit this, but it was when the nurse came to me on our second to last day in the hospital, and she said, "Tomorrow we're sending your wife home." And I just had this absolute sense of panic. Holy cow, this woman has 4 broken limbs. How am I going to take care of her and to have a job and run my business? Oh my gosh. I mean, I felt completely at a loss. I felt like a soldier that's out of ammunition, under fire, and I was ready to surrender. Well, I reached out to family and friends and to my church group, and they came to my rescue. It was the cavalry showed up, and they took care of us for 6 weeks, 24 hours a day. We had people there helping and taking care of us and making sure that everything is okay. Well, you've probably been there. In one way or another, you can relate to that experience. You felt like that, out of ammo, under fire, ready to surrender, and someone showed up and took care of you. Well, what I want you to recognize is what I recognize. You are the cavalry. Right? You, every day, you do this. You are the people who are rescuing those who are standing in need of rescue. And I thank you for your great work. Thank you very much for your time today.